Welcome, everybody, to Daniel Krug and Associates Wealth Management Review for June 18th, 2020. Today's presentation is titled Making Progress. My name is Iceman. I'm the Chief Compliance Officer and Associate Wealth Manager at Daniel Krug and Associates. Daniel M. Krug, CEO and Senior Wealth Manager, will also be one of our presenters today. I'm going to cover a couple of housekeeping items. This presentation is for illustrative purposes only and should not be considered investment or tax advice. Today's presentation, we want to thank City National Rockdale for their contribution and data in this presentation. So for today, our agenda is going over some of the major developments that took place in the past week, an update on COVID-19, where are we at with reopening and unemployment, the markets and investing, and Dan will highlight an opportunity strategy before we go into Q&A at the end. A reminder of what wealth management means to us. There's basically 5 major components to wealth management. The first and foremost being investment consulting. That's where we create an investment strategy specific to your goals, your needs, your risk tolerance, and where you need to be down the road. But, most advisors do some form of investment planning. However, some do it better than others. We believe we do a great job in that. But where we really differentiate ourselves is in the advanced planning. And that's in areas like wealth enhancement, where you get into tax mitigation, financial planning, and cash flow planning. Wealth transfer strategies, where you get into estate planning, legacy planning, business succession planning, and multi-generational planning. Wealth protection strategies. We cover insurance analysis, critical illness and estate protection planning, estate settlement, and liability risk mitigation. And the final category, about 1/3 of our clients, I'd say, are charitably inclined, and we get into specific customized strategies for giving that optimize their tax situation. So those are the areas, and we believe that all put together will be a significant increase to your wealth over time. Again, today we're going to focus in on an investment wealth enhancement strategy, and Dan will cover that at the end. So let's go on to what's taken place this week. So some of the major developments, we've seen significant fiscal and monetary policy continues to drive the economy and the markets. Consumers are starting to spend again, and that's a good sign. Obviously, it's supported by the government stimulus and relief efforts. COVID-19 last week, still at manageable levels after 7 weeks of reopening. And one other area that's new is the Fed engaged in what we believe is unnecessary and unprecedented bond buying. So they're getting more and more involved in fiscal policy and things like that to keep the economy moving forward. Dan's going to touch on, I think, a little bit more of the bond situation later in this presentation. So let's go over kind of where we're at with COVID-19. So basically, with the outbreak and reopening, we're nearly 2 months since the start of reopening, and all 50 states have reopened in some phase or fashion already. A majority of businesses have been allowed to open and operate in many of the states. Americans, like we said, are going out in large numbers, and we're starting to see that increase in the retail numbers that Dan's going to be going over in just a little bit. Now, because of this, many would expect a major rebound in COVID-19 spread. And if you watch the headlines or listen to the media, they are telling you that's happening, but the data actually has a different story to tell. So let's kind of take a look at some of the actual numbers. Again, headlines and new cases do not equal hospitalizations. So overall, hospitalizations continue to be flat or declining in most states. However, there has been increases in a few states, and as this chart shows, Arizona, Texas, North Carolina seen an uptick in the numbers of new cases and hospitalization. However, when you look at those numbers, Those numbers are in the low hundreds, not the thousands that we were seeing before that could generally start driving us back into an epidemic situation. So we've got to keep it in mind relative to what's going on. The numbers are still very, very low. Mortality rates continue to be very low. Even for the less vulnerable population, obviously, people in nursing homes, people with prior conditions have some issues, and this is a real threat. So we don't want to treat it like it's not, but the numbers overall are still continuing to look good as we move forward in the economy. And despite the second wave rhetoric, and I believe actually Dr. Fauci has come out and said we're not in the second wave, this is still the first wave, the hospitalizations remain manageable. So when you look at this chart, the yellow line at 30% is a caution line. That's where we have to start being concerned with an uptick in hospitalizations, okay? The red line represents where we're getting into the warning stage, where we might have to start getting concerned with hospitalization and the amount of capacity we have, okay? Now the lines underneath that represent some of the major states that have seen an uptick, and Arizona is that black line coming up closest to the yellow line. So while it's true that there has been an increase in Arizona, it's still not to the point where there's even a cautionary situation going on. Hospitalizations are well below capacity overall, below 20% in 49 of 50 states. You can see that the trend, however, in Arizona is going up. Most of the others are going down.